Being featured is brought to you by Lucky Horseshoe, A&R Electrical Services, and Patient Spirit Productions.
My guest being featured today is an artist activist, and she's also well known in Barbados as a fashion icon. Her name is Adaeze. Adaeze, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I was on YouTube today watching the Thug Mansion freestyle. That was crazy.
Cool.
So tell us about the birth of Adaeze.
Well, it really started maybe 2010. I started doing spoken word in Florida. I was going to school at University of Florida, and I got introduced to spoken word. Before that, I was playing a lot of instruments, and when I was on campus, I started being known as the poet from Barbados. And back then I had dreads, so that was it, the poet from Barbados with dreads. That was weird for me to be known as a poet and not as a musician. So maybe 2011 or so, I said, okay, let me put the poetry to music. So if you check through like the past couple years, a lot of my earlier stuff sounds really poetic. It still has that spoken word edge to it. And that's how I really started out, just putting that poetry to the music.
Okay, and your latest single, Not My Name. Talk about that project.
Well, again, that's like a far departure from my initial style. This one I wanted to make it super, super simple, and something that anyone could catch on to, something really catchy. So the concept of the song is that there are a lot of things that people call you when you're growing up, even as adults. Things, specific names directly, but also just different notions that you can't do this, or, you know. And I just want to speak about that. So the song is just empowering people to say, no, that's not me. This is what I am. So I would encourage anyone to check it out. It's really fun. I produced it myself, and it's on a kind of soca, azonto type beat. So it's funny. You just want to dance to it and getting a message at the same time.
And talk a little bit about your approach to songwriting. I read your bio today, and it mentioned that your lyrics are usually thought-provoking, which is true. So talk about your approach to songwriting. Initially,
again, I was just about being lyrical. I like playing with words and all that sort of stuff. That was how I did it before. But then speaking to a lot of different music execs, getting different input, I realized that it's really important to communicate. So you could get all fancy, and if people aren't really catching it, if they can't sing back all the lyrics to you, then you kind of defeating the purpose, right? So my stuff now, I just try to let it be natural, something that's really catchy that everyone could just say easily. You hear it one time and you can say it the next time around. And I try not to force anything. I try to keep it as relatable as possible. And if I'm working on a song and it's just not coming out, leave it, come back to it when I'm really feeling it. So just try to be natural. Yeah.
And is there any specific topics that you find yourself touching on? You know, you're like, I sang about that in the last song. Yeah. But there's just certain things that you have interest in. So is there any specific topics that you find that you?
Yeah, I can't. My songs are just always inspirational. I can't help but write songs for the underdog in a way. My songs are always about getting up again, feeling like a conqueror, that sort of stuff, and I can't help it. And that's because generally the songs that I write that end up being singles, I write them at a time when I need to hear those messages myself. So generally I'm writing songs to encourage myself, and then like, sounds good, so let me share it and make something of it. So my songs always come about that way, so they always are inspirational.
And you have a project, Face Depression. Let's talk about that.
Well, Face Depression started a little earlier this year, so 2015. when Robin Williams passed, I felt like there was really a need to talk about depression. It's something that we don't talk about, and especially people of color, and especially people in this region, in the Caribbean. So it's something we don't speak about, and yet 1 in 5 people suffers with depression at some point in their life. Yeah. Personally, I think everyone at some point will go through some depressed state. It's something that is actually life-threatening, and yet we don't talk about it. We talk about AIDS, we talk about cancer, and diabetes, but we don't talk about depression. So having gone through depression myself, I decided, okay, let me just start with my story. I started with my story. Someone else would say, hey, I want to tell my story, show their story. So every month since we started, we've just highlighted someone, and people have been messaging like every week saying, hey, you know, I relate to that story. My son relates to that. Any advice for me and my friend, you know? So it's something that's really snowballing right now, and I look forward to see where it goes in the months to come.
Okay, what's some of the advice that you give to people who are going through depression?
For people going through depression, I try to keep it as okay, so when you're going through depression, it's hard to think rationally and logically. So I try to keep it as step by step as possible. There's some things that you can do that will just help, you know, that you don't have to think about that much. So if you just take supplements, if you go into the sun, just getting some sunlight could really help with your mood. If you cut down on caffeine, if you regularize your sleeping habits, all these things can really help to overall lift your mood. Once you get out of that depression, then you can start trying to reason with people about what are some things that they can do. I would say if you're ever feeling suicidal, get professional help. Tell someone who can help you help yourself. Don't isolate yourself, because it just makes it worse. And finally, I'll just want people to know that it's a flaw in chemistry in their brain. Like, you know, this is just a biological illness, and it's not so much a symptom of their own weakness. Yep. Okay,
let's move on to the Caribbean Music Summit.
Yep.
You had the opportunity to attend that summit. Let's talk a little bit about that.
The Caribbean Music Summit, it was a good experience. They brought in several people from overseas in different arenas in music. A lot of it had to do with sync licensing. I especially liked the panel that they had with these 2 guys, Elvin Ross, and one was Joel High, and they worked with Tyler Perry, and I just love their story, the way they talk about Tyler Perry, his vision, and how they just came around him and helped him work on his vision, and how in doing that they were also successful. I like that concept, you know, of teaming up and going towards a common vision. So I enjoyed that, and then I had the opportunity to parlay with Matthew Knowles a couple times, and he was interesting.
I understand you were complimented.
Yeah. He called me up. I was actually scared.
Yeah.
Because he called me up. He said, young lady, come out here. And I was like, oh crap, is he gonna embarrass me or something in front of all these people? And then he gave me a compliment about looking the part of an artist. So that was humbling.
Yeah, nice. Well, let's continue along that line. How important do you think it is to not just be the part, but look the part, especially as an artist?
Yeah. I think it's extremely important, extremely. Because if I go into a store and I want to buy a product that I've never had, I'm gonna go with the product that has the best label.
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah. You know, like people need to see you and say there's something different about that person, and come up to you and say, what do? You look like an artist, you know, and that's something I've experienced, and that's what you want, because at the end of the day, you're a product, and this is just your label, so you have to look the part. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about knowledge of the music industry.
That's integral, you know, like if you have to see your music as a business, and if you're going into any business venture, you should know about your competitors, about how to run a business. So to me, that's just like step 1. I think it's something that's really lacking. I think people don't realize that they could just go on Google. That's something that I did for years and years and years. I would just read different articles from different people. And now it's at a stage where I'm able to pass on certain things that I've learned, and I actually write for different blogs now. So That's something that's really important, and I hope people don't skip that and just try going straight to the music. Yeah.
Well, you're in the industry now for a couple of years. When you came into the industry, what were you looking to get out of your music, your poetry, etc.?
When I started, I was naive. I actually wasn't looking to get anything. I just wanted to give. I just wanted to give my experiences. I wanted to give my words. I just loved writing and I loved performing. That was it. It's only recently that I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to start getting compensated for this. So when I started, that was really it. I just wanted people who ever felt like an underdog, people who ever felt alone, whatever I have felt, I wanted to help people get through it. And that was really just it. Yeah.
So give some advice to the entry-level poets, rappers coming in, because you know when you come into the industry, you know something, you make a lot of amount of mistakes.
I made so many.
Yeah.
I made tons. I feel like I fault started so many times, and I just want to say, first of all, I still think I'm in the entry level. In my mind, I'm still in the entry level, but I would say for anyone who's coming from scratch, prepare to work hard and prepare yourself for failure. If you don't know how to handle failure, you'll be discouraged easily. You're gonna fail, and that's okay. That's really okay. You just learn from whatever the failure was and do better next time. So it's just really work ethic. A lot of people think I'm talented, I can sing, and that's really just maybe 10% of it. The other set of it is the music industry and understanding how the industry works. And then after that, once you have the talent, you understand what you have to do. It's really just about working hard.
Okay.
That's it.
Let's touch on trying to get your music from Barbados to the entire world. How do you guys approach that?
Well, we have something now that's so fantastic called the internet, and it just makes the world so much smaller, you know. So there are different things you can do. There's YouTube, there's SoundCloud. There are also these different sites that pretty much, once you're putting out good content consistently, you start to get fans from wherever they are. You can also just go to different places. So this year, I think I went to Toronto maybe twice, just to insert myself in the music culture there and get to know different people. So you can go physically, you could just make use of the internet, and it just snowballs from there. Once you have a fan base somewhere and it starts to grow, eventually they start calling you out to that place, and that's just how it goes.
Okay, a lot of persons know you from YouTube, but talk about some of the performances that you would have done here in Barbados.
Well, I really, really enjoy Mahalia's Corner. I love the energy of that show and that showcase. That's actually how I started poetry at all. When I first came back, and I was all shy and like scared, and I was rehearsing in the living room. From that stage, it was always Mahalia's Corner. So that's something I support 100%. But I've also opened up for people like Chrisette Michelle. I performed at Love Poetry and Song. And then whatever events there are that there's room for hip hop, because that's also another thing. There aren't that many events where they make room for hip hop. So whatever those events are, I'm generally there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get an opportunity to hear Adaeze. And we are back. My guest being featured today is one of the bomb poets and rappers here in Barbados. And finally, we are going to get an opportunity to hear her live. Adaeze, it's all over to you.
Okay. This is your favorite one, so I'll do this for you.
Home is where the heart is, and I live in every song. If I have life eternal, then I am forever young. If I believe the scriptures, then loving you is wrong. Just getting where I fit in, but I don't really belong.
I believe my heart was made to break, cause no matter what it takes, I always come up fighting, and I always end up writing, and I always end up when I was down in the beginning. There are different shades of blue, don't think there are different shades of sinning. Camille, that's enough, watch your mouth, can you say that? Hey yo, this is the iceberg, so get a snuggie, lay back. I refuse to be silenced when there's so much that is contained. I ain't sweating the climb, got faith that moves the mountain.
Oh, did you hear that? My videographer is, you know what I mean, he's jealous because, you know, he loves you and he has a different, you know, he's going to get over it.
Thank you.
I mean, it's cool. Talk about that flow. I mean, I was listening to that a million times today. I was preparing for the interview and I was just, had it on repeat. So talk about that, because I know it's one of the your popular tunes that you perform.
Well, that's actually one of my favorite verses that I've ever written, and it probably will always be one of my favorite verses. I think because at the time I wrote it, I was having fun, but I was also on that Lauryn Hill kind of vibe.
Yeah.
She's someone that I really look up to, so whenever I say it, I enjoy saying it, and what I'm talking about is something that will always be important to me. So to me, it'll just be like a favorite.
Yeah. I also remember today I was into another tune. I think you and is McConan, right?
Yeah.
One Love. That's a nice tune as well. Talk about that tune and talk about meeting and teaming up with McConan.
Okay, cool. Well, I started that song on the piano, so I was just fooling around and I kept hearing One Love, One Love. I hooked up with Barry Barman from Cover Drive, who plays guitar for Cover Drive. He's also a producer, so we go in the studio one day, we worked on the song, and then I had the hook. As he's producing, I was like, you know what, it was so good with a reggae vibe. At the same time, he looks back, it was so good with a reggae vibe. And then I was trying to think of the people who I know sing reggae really well, and McConan came to mind instantly. He has such a rich tone, and when we finally did it, we got in the studio, all three of us, I was just happy with it. Yeah. The hook just makes you like just want to vibe out. Yeah,
and the video I think is pretty impressive as well. Talk about who you worked with producing that video.
Yeah, well, I have the same video team all the time.
Okay.
Carl Bleman filmed it. He works with Studio, and my sister is the director. She's done work on Keeping Up with the Joneses, and
okay.
So she directs all of my videos. That one was a lot of fun. It was one of the biggest videos that we've ever shot. We had tons of dancers, lights, all sorts of stuff. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to some of your philosophies, because I see you on social media. Have a lot of interesting views, I must add. So let's hear some of your philosophies, especially as it relates to life.
Okay. Yeah. As it relates to life, be happy. No, I don't know. I believe in God. I believe that my gifts are from Him, and that my life is for Him. Okay. And that everything I do should be to service others, to help others. So really at the root of everything to me is just love, and that informs everything else. So that's my major philosophy, just love, and God being love, and sharing that love with others, because the world is so broken. I don't know if you've noticed, but the world is really broken. I just think that love heals.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're going to take one more break, and when we come back, you'll get our final opportunity to hear Adaeze perform. And welcome back to the show. We have with us today one of the bomb poets in Barbados and rappers, and she's going to perform for us one more time, and she's doing a track called Jump.
Yeah, so this one of the new ones. I ain't come for play, I'm confident. Come for work, I ain't come for stunt. Pull the trap back if you got dreams on your backpack. Tell the haters, tap that. Skinny little ting, but my rhymes is fat. blessing stack, hand to the sky like bat, 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 bat. This is the part where we rock this track.
Oh, white girl Adaeze. I want to say a very big thank you very much for coming. I'm a major fan. This is years now, exaggerated years. So it's fun having you guys on the show, and I want to say thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, too.